Hello everyone and welcome back to my channel. Today I decided I'd sit down and introduce you all to my wonderful horses that I have so far here at Starshine Ranch. Hopefully this video doesn't get too long. Also, before we get started, don't forget to click that subscribe button if you haven't already so you don't miss any of my videos in the future. Anyway, diving right in, let's start with the show horses part of the barn, starting with
We've been talking for an hour, we just can't find the end.
First up, we have Marble. She is a 19-year-old Pinto Arabian mare, and if you saw my writing story video, which you should check that out if you haven't, you'd know that she was my first childhood horse that I ever actually owned. I got her when I was just 11 years old, and she was quite the hot-tempered mare, but I learned to sit through her bucks, and she's just one of those horses that taught me more than I could ever learn. She was the one who got me into barrel racing, and I won quite a few small-town rodeos with her around Jorvik as a child. She's now retired, being one of the oldest horses in the barn. I think I kind of owe a lot to her. So I retired her, and now she's living her best life, just grazing in the pasture and enjoying herself. Marble is sort of like the mother of the barn, always looking out for the foals and keeping the younger horses in check. Everyone loves her, and she teaches the new mothers all the ropes. Next is Flames Up and Runnin', aka Gamora, my next childhood horse who once again appeared in my writing story. Gamora is a buckskin Connemara mare, and she was the first horse I ever bought myself. I received her from Jorvik Stables when I was 15 years old, and she basically carried me through the rest of high school. However, she ended up getting ring bone when I was a senior in high school, and so that means I couldn't ride her. So now she is 12 years old and retired from racing due to her condition. However, she's still fairly young, so I use her as a breeding horse, and she's given me 2 healthy foals so far. She's one of those horses that's fabulous and knows it. She's super sassy and quite the character, meaning she's pretty high up in the pecking order, but she's also a great mother, always looking out for her babies. Blazing Citation, aka Dixie. Dixie's my 13-year-old Grula quarter horse mare, who I bought after I graduated college. She's very athletic and even took me to the top 5 in the National Barrel Horse Association, which was insane. Unlike Gamora, she's actually surprisingly chill. She's very pleasant to be around, a very in-your-pocket type of horse. I still love her, however, since she's already a high-end winner. I haven't been riding her as often since I've been working on training the babies and project horses, but I'm still hoping to bring her and a few others to compete at the bigger, more challenging races. Speaking of babies, that brings us to Flaming Sparks, aka Chex. Chex is out of my mare Gamora and a champion pole bender stallion named Sparks a Flyin'. He was the first foal I bred as an adult, and he's now 6 years old. He's a gorgeous brown and white paint stallion, and I think I'm going to keep him a stallion for now so I can use him for breeding in the future. He is a total speed demon and throws a fit when he isn't allowed to go fast. Since he's still pretty young, he's got his quirks. He's kind of a handful at times and requires a lot of patience, but he's still a winner in rodeos, so it's kind of a trade-off. People say he acts like this because he is a stallion, but honestly, I think it's just his personality. Making him a gelding might help, but he's got a very high quality breeding, so I'm going to keep him a stud for a while. As long as I can handle riding him, then we'll be fine. Moving away from the barrel racers, I recently received a new project horse named Book of Spells, aka Chance. From my last video, you probably remember me mentioning him, but Chance is a 5-year-old off-the-track thoroughbred bay gelding, who I'm currently in the process of turning into a show jumper. Chance is a total sweetheart on the ground. He loves to be groomed and loved on. He's just the sweetest boy, and I love him to pieces. However, since he was recently taken out of the races, he's going to require a lot of patience and training under saddle. He's still learning how to collect and do flying changes on command, which is important if he's going to jump. I received him from a rescue center in South Hoof, and the family there told me that they thought he would excel as a jumper, and they were right. When I took him to practice free jumping, he did absolutely amazing. He has a lot of potential. Next, we have Lucky by Design, aka Lady. Lady has made a few appearances in my videos, but she's a fairly new addition to the barn. Lady is a beautiful 6-year-old, fully bitten gray quarter horse mixed mare. Phew, say that 5 times fast. I recently bought her from Mr. Moreland, actually, so I'm still learning her personality, learning all her buttons. But so far, she's pretty shy, but I can tell she's curious, and she started making friends in the pasture. She seems very interested in the foals, so I might use her as a broodmare in the future. And since I've been working with her in the round pen, she's bonded to me a little bit. I haven't competed on her yet. I want to get her used to me and experiencing new things, and she is so cautious, but I will keep you guys updated with her progress. Now, on the completely opposite end of the spectrum, we have Heartbreaker, aka Jake. Jake is a 9-year-old light bay purebred quarter horse, and although I wish he was a stallion due to his high quality breeding, sadly he's a gelding already, but he definitely acts like a stud, not gonna lie. I received him from the harvest counties from another breeding barn in that area, and unlike Lady, he is a daredevil. He's super confident and outgoing and always causing trouble. I've had him throw shoes so many times. My farrier hates him. He's always messing around with the foals, and he's not the best influence on them. Despite his personality, I bought him because he'd won numerous Gymkhana events in the past. He actually prefers pole bending over barrels, which is interesting, but it gives me the chance to try out new events instead of just barrel racing. And the last of my barrel racers is actually the newest addition to our barn, Firecracker, aka Finn. Finn was born a couple months ago to Gamora and a stud that my friends owns. He is half Connemara, half quarter horse, and all energy. I'm very excited to see his progress as a racer when he's older. For now, he's just a little ball of energy, always looking for attention and finding something to do when no one will give him the attention. Okay, those are all the higher bred racers that I have. Now we're moving on to the lesson horses that I use for my lesson program. First up, we have Brandy. Brandy is a 14-year-old gray pony standing at barely 14 hands. He's the perfect for a lot of smaller children and riders. He's pretty much all around, ridden both English and Western, depending on which discipline the rider wants to pursue. He's super chill and has the best personality. Everyone in the barn loves him, and he's always begging for treats. He's pretty lazy, which means I can trust him with younger kids, but it also means he requires a lot of encouragement to actually speed up. But he's still a super sweet gelding who is great for beginner riders. Next, we have Casper. Now, Casper has kind of an interesting story. He's about 15 or 16. I'm not really sure since we actually received him from, once again, South Hoof Rescue Center. So I'm not really sure about his breeding or like his past life. But he's a nice sorrel-colored gelding standing at about 16.5 hands. He's fairly tall compared to the other lesson horses, but he's a gentle giant nonetheless. He's super calm and loving. The rescue center told me he came from an abandoned barn out by the beach. So when I first saw him, he was super skinny and malnourished. He had cuts on his legs and his hooves were cracked. However, with lots of tender love and care, he now looks better than ever and surprisingly is super social. He loves being around people. The little girl that rides him is absolutely adorable, and Casper is one of those horses that takes care of his rider. I'm not worried about him bolting or being spooky, but unlike Brandy, he's definitely more forward. So I use him for more intermediate riders since he is quite fast, especially at the lope, and requires a more confident rider. Nonetheless, I still adore him, as do all the students that ride him. And last but certainly not least, we have Charlie. Charlie is a Welsh pony cob mixed dappled gray mare. Standing at about 15.3 hands and 13 years old, she is one of the more sassy mares in the barn, always looking for all the attention, but she's very responsive and sensitive under saddle. She's really good at teaching kids how to have soft, quiet hands, and it doesn't take much to get her going. She enjoys being loved on and is always begging for treats, but the kids love her. She doesn't have a lot of extensive training like Brandy does and mainly rides English, so she's good at teaching kids flat work and a bit of jumping. Sometimes I need just a break from training and teaching and rushing around rodeo after rodeo, so I like to tack her up and do a bit of cross-country or trail rides since she's very calm and therapeutic. But plus it's nice to be able to just have a relaxing ride and be able to do a bit of cross-country riding and jumping, which I enjoy. So that is all my horses so far, from my childhood horses to my barrel racing babies to the amazing lesson horses to my project horses. And as you can see, I've got my plate pretty much full working with all these animals. However, I love what I do, and I hope you all enjoyed meeting the athletes. If you did enjoy, be sure to give it a big thumbs up and subscribe so you don't miss another video like this. And I will see you all next video. Bye!
We've been talking for an hour, we just can't find the end. We won't understand each other I wonder how it feels to fall